your first screenplay with Bhaji on the beach, and of seeing that truth in that. That's the first time I'd ever in my life seen that many South Asian people on screen, but that many South Asian women on screen. Multi-generational, British, and a segment of life that so many of us had lived. Those picnics were kind of a ritual and a rite of passage of growing up, bringing out the samosa, the chat and the pakoras, and on the road trip.
Yeah, absolutely. But sitting on the verge of the motorway often, eating them. No sense of decorum.
But kind of capturing that and then actually becoming something that's lived on a legacy. How difficult was it for it to get made?
The easiest commission I've ever had.
Wow.
I swear to God, because if you remember, Channel 4 back then had a remit to give airtime to the unrecognised so-called minority voices, and in those days, that's what they were doing. So I went in to see Karen Bamborough, who was the head of film, and said, I've just got this idea about the day trips I used to take with my aunties and uncles, and going to Blackpool because it's the most British of resorts, and plugging into all that embarrassment I used to feel. I'm not with them, I'm not with them. The people speaking the weird language, and no, that's not me at all. And plugging into all of that. And I did the 5-minute pitch, and she went, yeah. I went, sorry? She went, yeah, sounds really good, go away and do a treatment. And I couldn't believe it. It's unbelievable. But I think I just hit at the right time, because this was early 90s in London, when suddenly we were, London was celebrating being a multicultural city thanks to Ken and the GLC. It was like a place of free concerts and free writing classes. I mean, it just felt like a really creative space that had just suddenly realised we were one of the most multicultural cities in the world, and they were celebrating it. And it plugged into that. Alternative comedy was just starting. So I think I was lucky I hit that particular moment at that time. It wouldn't be that quick now.
Did it open doors for you?
Yeah, it certainly did as a writer. I mean, I think, obviously I wasn't in it, but yeah, it did. I mean, obviously once you have the one credit, people will sort of at least read the next thing you do. I mean, everything goes on its own merit, but it certainly helped with the initial, who are you, bit. You could at least go, well, I've done this, yeah.
And now I'm going to skip a few years ahead, but to goodness gracious me, I'm curious kind of to think how, after having the success of Bhaji on the Beach and then being in quite a few things, you had to then go back to authored work to have something like that made again. Was that a natural step for you, and that's what the direction you always wanted to go in, to kind of create this kind of authored piece? Or
was this goodness gracious me you're talking about? That was very much a group effort. I mean, Anil Gupta got us together as a group, producer Anil Gupta, although he was, we met on the Real McCoy, which really opened the door for us, to be honest. I was a guest on the Real McCoy. That was the first black sketch show on British television, and maybe still the only one. No, we've had a couple since then, but certainly the one that made the most impact. It was huge, it was huge. And they very kindly allowed me to be a writer on the team and guest star in a few things, and I think that just made it a bit easier for us to then go, well, actually, culturally, the things that we talk about are really different. Of course they are, and maybe there's space for our version of this. And Anil was a script editor on that. Kulvinder had been on the show as well, and then Anil had seen Sanjeev and Nitin do stand-up, and Nina. So he gathered us together as a team. And then we had the writers, Sharat Sadhana, much missed, not with us anymore, and Richard Pinto. And that was the little core group. So very much a group effort, and really still one of the most joyful things I've ever done.
Goodness Gracious Me was definitely an outing of cultural taboos via entertainment. Is that the way that it was framed for all of you?
I don't know if we set off with any agenda like that. We honestly did the stuff that made us laugh. And it was like, I can't explain what it was like. It was like coming home for me, because we'd all grown up in our little pockets, and all of us were misfits, and all of us had been sniggering at things behind our hands in the middle of these family outings, going, is anyone else else finding this funny? No, just me, okay. And then suddenly to be in a room where everyone absolutely gets the shorthand, and you go, oh my God, I wasn't the only one. There is a thing, there is this thing that is British Asian humour, and this is it. We don't know what it is, we don't know where it's come from, but it's here. And what's the stuff that makes us laugh? And we never held back on being really culturally specific in terms of, you know, using Punjabi or Hindi if we wanted to, and not over-explaining ourselves, because actually we had nothing to lose. We had nothing to lose. No one who knew who we were. We could have slid back into obscurity. And I think it was because it was so authentic. It wasn't written thinking, shall we tell white people what brown people are like? Let's do that. No, we didn't. We just went, this is great. This is what makes us laugh. And there was silly stuff in there. There was satiric stuff in there. We took the piss out of ourselves and the host nation. So it was satire in the best sense. And there were songs. So, and I think that's why it's lasted, to be honest, because it came from a very truthful and celebratory place.